Hey guys, what is up? I'm gonna show some more CDs today. So to start off with, I'm going to wrap up my 9-inch Nails collection. So to start off with, we have Year Year Zero, an album that I feel like is actually aged pretty well. I did for a while kind of feel like it was one of his weaker albums, and it's still not necessarily a top ranked album, I would say, for 9-inch Nails, but I do feel like it's just an album that like just got better as it's got older somehow. So it is kind of a concept album about theocracy taking over. Not really anything going on behind it. Now, the disc is supposed to change color once it's been heated or it's been played, but mine doesn't. I know eventually he did, or the label did stop doing the color changing disc. This was purchased before they stopped doing it, but still mine's never done, so I don't know if it's a fact that just naturally wears out over time or not. But yeah, mine just doesn't do it. Next we have his instrumental collection, Ghost 1 through 4. He's recently done 2 more instrumental albums. I haven't listened to them yet because they're only digital albums, and I'm such a physical media purist. I haven't got around to listening to them. I'd really like to listen to them on CD, vinyl, cassette, anything but digital. Well, I know CD's technically digital, but like, I don't know, it's just hard for me to appreciate music when, you know, it's not physical media. I mean, I know that's kind of weird, but I really like my physical media. But yeah, this is honestly a pretty good album. I mean, obviously it's a double disc. It takes some dedication to listen to, but I do rather enjoy it. A lot of neat studio photos. I'm normally not a big fan of like heavily relying on studio photos for, you know, packaging. I prefer more art-based stuff, but I don't know. I mean, it's such a diverse album. You know, it is kind of interesting to get these little moments from the studio, I think. So I actually don't mind it for this one. Then my last 9-inch Nails album, as I've said before, I have a bunch of 9-inch Nails on vinyl too, so this isn't all of my collection, but we've got Hesitation Marks. This is what I consider to be his most recent album. I mean, I know he's released he's done other releases, and some of them he's even referred to as albums. But yeah, I consider that a series of 6-song releases he did to be all EPs, even though he called the last one an album. I mean, they're all solid, but I mean, it's only 6 songs, then, you know, they're average length songs, so I still consider this to be his most recent album. I believe this was released around 2013, if I'm not mistaken. It was a good while back, at least. So it's been a while since we've had a 9-inch Nails album. This is one of the lower ranked albums, I would say. It's a little bit more, you know, kind of like the Fragile and Downward Spiral. It's kind of a little bit more, I'd say Fragile more so than Downward, but either way, it's a little bit more fleshed out, I'd say. But it's a little bit more poppy. Has a lot more, it's very groove-oriented, a little bit more funk. Not exactly his strongest album, in my opinion. So now we're getting into some Nirvana. I do have Nevermind on vinyl, but on CD I have In Utero. This is my personal favorite Nirvana album. And fairly recently found out that this is a picture of Frances Bean, I think was her name. But either way, Kurt Cobain's daughter's babysitter in women's underwear. And we got this multi-panel fold out. Then next up I have one of the greatest live albums of all time. I'd say probably the best acoustic type album. Rock band goes acoustic, whatever you call that type deal. Nirvana, Unplugged in New York. If you haven't heard this, definitely check it out. Here's the booklet. Kurt Cobain did admittedly kind of cheat. I mean, he did play acoustic guitar throughout it, but he had it going through an electric amplifier and using his pedal board. I believe he definitely used distortion on the really great cover of A Man Who Saw the World, but I believe he used a chorus pedal on it throughout the concert as well. But it's pretty cool. Next up, we have the only album that I have from No Doubt, Tragic Kingdom. Really fun summertime album. I like to listen to this on my way to the beach a lot. Definitely prefer No Doubt's earlier material. And here's the insert. Next up, I used to have, well, up to a certain point, all of this band's albums. I kind of outgrew them, but I still like this album. We got Bless the Martyr and Kiss the Child by Norma Jean. This is the only album they released with Josh Scogin on vocals, who went on to play in bands like The Cherry and 68, both of which I enjoy. I mean, there's just something about Josh Scogin that I enjoy, but for the most part, I, in general, don't listen to this type of music that much. But, you know, it's a metalcore album for those of you who are into that sort of thing. I do rather like the artwork for it, though. Of that aged family photos thing going on. There's a thunderstorm going on right now, so that's why you hear some booming. Next up, this is a great album, Operation Ivy. I believe this is a compilation of more or less all of their recordings, because they didn't do that much really, but it's pretty good. This is kind of the predecessor to Rancid, if you're familiar with them. It had Tim Armstrong definitely went on to join Rancid. I'd like to say their bassist Matt Freeman also went on to join or form Rancid. Yeah. There's the booklet, but yeah, great ska punk band. Definitely something you should check out if you're into that sort of music. And probably last up for today, I'm gonna show off Pedro the Lion's Achilles Heel. This is the only CD that I have from Pedro the Lion. I got a few of his there, whatever you want to call it, albums on vinyl. This one's the only one on CD. It's pretty good. say a little bit more on the pop rock side of his spectrum. I'm not a big fan of Pedro the Lion's earlier albums. It's the album before this, Control, that I kind of feel like they really got good. This album's not as good as Control. I'd say Control was, you know, not only the first good album, but also kind of their peak. But yeah, everything after Control has been pretty good too. I do rather like this artwork too. That's pretty cool. So yeah, I think that's all I'm going to show you for today. As usual, I'll be back next week and I will show you some more CDs. So I will see you then.